Today, I ran into a video that is the 78th most hyped up video on YouTube. And it talks about the actual things that are happening in the world and how Valve said no to regulations to help children be protected from predators online, which is actually really happening. So we're gonna be watching that video, and I'm gonna be talking about it inside the whole entire business. So let's head to YouTube real quick. Be right back. Okay, so here's the video. Okay, so we're allowed to start.
Welcome back to another video. I'm
Here we are.
currently working on the interior of my house,
Let's
making it
go.
look like all nice and cozy. But while I play this game Minecraft, the gaming industry is currently under the most aggressive, coordinated government attack that we have ever seen. Like 10 years ago, the internet was like a fundamentally different place. You could boot up a game, like pick a random username, and exist entirely off the grid. But for the last 2 years, we have watched massive tech companies completely cave to the modern surveillance state, dismantling that freedom piece by piece. We watched Discord quietly implement massive data harvesting tools and turn a blind eye as private user data was repeatedly exposed. We watched like Roblox like completely destroy like the soul of its platform by forcing all like the age ratings, all like the dynamic heads, like all sorts of stuff just to appease like global regulators and corporate investors.
So what he's talking about is this getting in the way of PC gaming or gaming in general. Now, if you don't know what's going on in the world, Roblox got absolutely sued by Lawyer Mike or Law by Mike. You should probably look him up. But he sued Roblox because they noticed that Schlep was acting as naive children to trick predators into thinking he's a child. And then he goes through this whole entire system. And then he soon after catches those predators. But the thing that Roblox did not sit well because Schlep was trying to do good, yet they avoided the whole entire question of how Roblox is letting this happen. The thing that that Roblox was arguing about was not the child rape, grooming, stuff like that, but focusing on how Schlep was acting as a fake person, which is like, man, he's trying to solve a problem that's in the actual world, that's in avoidance of normal safety areas that should be put into more relatable games. And because Valve said no to the whole entire thing, Valve has been getting backlash for all of it. But the reason they won't do it is because most of their demographic isn't even children. They're mostly adults and like older teens, like 19, 20, stuff around 18 or 19. And people are arguing about it because they're like, it's not safe on the internet anymore, and we need these regulations. And we need these regulations, but the thing is that we're making a big deal out of something that should be taken even more seriously than we already are. This should not be an argument between two sides of people who were saying that Roblox was just doing their part, or Roblox is complete scum that deserves to die in the deepest trenches of hell you could ever imagine. But the thing is that these are real problems that are in the real world. And like he'll explain later, he says this is just a pretense or a guise to disguise the fact that the trafficking people to make sure that children do not get raped, all that stuff. We don't really want that to happen. No. And the reason the government is trying to press other places like Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, which have already agreed to the whole entire thing, of this situational problem. It's just that we're making a small deal out of something that we should be making a bigger and more serious deal on than we already are. Lava Mike and Creekcraft for quitting Roblox because of the toxicity of Roblox allowing the predatoriness of Schlepp's content, or lack thereof, that stops these guys from doing bad. And people who defend the area and say that it's just pretend, it's not real, are ignorant, stupid, and might as well be also thrown in the same cage Roblox belongs into.
Welcome back to another video. We state as private user data was repeatedly heads like building the baseline architecture. These global regulators and corporate investors, it was a mess. We even watched the massive console giants like PlayStation and Xbox start building the baseline architecture for permanent online tracking. It felt like the entire concept of gaming anonymity was dead. The governments of the world, specifically in the UK and the US, realized that the gaming ecosystem was the last remaining pocket of the open internet where users could exist without a permanent government back. They absolutely hated it.
So the reason America and the UK have been pressed to put these regulations into hold is because of the real problems that are happening with real children that should be helped out, and they're not being helped out. You should need to help these people out. Even if it doesn't go along with your agenda, you need to pay attention to the people at hand, the people who are more important than your own life. Everyone is more important than you are, but you are also important. You should probably put others first rather than disagreeing with the government for doing things to protect people and children alike who are having problems with this as a whole entire whole, sort of. But I kind of explained everything I needed to explain, so I'm just gonna let the whole entire video run, and then if I disagree with anything else, I'll pause the video real quick. That's all.
So they drafted massive sweeping legislation under the guise of online safety and protecting the children to force every single tech company to build invasive third-party age verification backdoors directly into their software. And almost every single tech CEO traded your privacy for a regulatory green light. But there's one massive, untouchable fortress sitting in the middle of the internet that simply said no. Today we're talking about Valve, the creators of Steam, and how they just orchestrated what might be the most massive, beautiful rejection of global government overreach in the history of the internet. We're going to look at the coordinated multi-$100 million lawsuits being levied and weaponized to bankrupt them, why governments are terrified of a private tech giant they cannot control, and how Gabe Newell just permanently saved PC gaming from the digital
Gabe
ID
Newell
surveillance.
is the boss of Steam and Valve.
Control, and how Gabe Newell just permanently saved PC gaming from the digital ID surveillance state. To understand the absolute scale of this victory, you have to look at the exact weapons the government is currently using to try and break Valve. The regulators in the United Kingdom realized that they could just not simply order Steam to install spyware. That's not going to work. Valve is a privately held company. They do not have public shareholders to appease. They do not have a board of corporate investors that are demanding infinite sanitized growth. And they do not rely on something like advertisement data to survive. They simply sell video games to gamers and take a cut. Because of this absolute financial independence, Valve is essentially immune to the standard corporate blackmail that governments use to force tech giants and tech corporations into compliance. So the government decided to hit them where it hurts the most, the Treasury. We're currently watching the UK Competition Appeal Tribunal greenlight an absolutely massive historic class action lawsuit demanding over £656 million, or I believe around, 840 million US dollars from Valve. On the surface, they're claiming that this massive lawsuit is about Steam's standard 30% revenue cut and their pricing parity rules. They're trying to frame Valve as a tyrannical monopoly that financially hurts consumers. But if you actually look at the timing of this unprecedented legal attack, the reality becomes glaringly obvious. Companies like Apple, Google, Sony, and Microsoft all take the exact same 30% cut. The government is laser focused on launching this massive, coordinated strike against Valve. They are actively trying to shatter Steam's core business model. They want to drain the war chest, you could say, of the only independent gaming platform left on Earth. And as if an $800 million hit wasn't enough, they are coordinating these attacks with other massive regulatory bodies. Just days ago, massive music copyright groups filed concurrent lawsuits against Steam, essentially creating a multi-front legal war that is designed to completely bankrupt the company or force them into a settlement where they finally surrender their autonomy and their independence. The goal is more like a financial payout. The absolute goal is submission. But the attack is just coming from Europe. At the exact same time the UK is trying to drain Valve's bank accounts, the United States government is launching a massive coordinated assault on their software mechanics. We are seeing both federal and state regulators in places I believe New York and Washington drag Valve into court over Counter-Strike 2 CS2. The government is attempting to classify the entire CS2 loot box and skin trade system as an illegal multi-billion dollar unregulated gambling ring. Now, regardless how you personally feel about the ethics of the skins and the case unboxing, that is controversial. The legal precedent the government is trying to set here is absolutely terrifying. The federal regulators are not just asking for a standard fine, they're demanding that Valve either completely halt their entire digital economy in the United States, or, and this is the terrifying part, implement mandatory government-approved X-ray scanners and invasive identity tracking systems to permanently monitor exactly who is opening these cases and also where they live. They are using the moral panic surrounding digital gambling as a Trojan horse to force massive identity verification backdoors directly into the Steam client itself. It is the exact.
Now, for what he said a few seconds ago about the let me think real quick. Now, what he said about unlocking the information of people, when, where, the places they live, stuff like that, to track people for their safety is an actual thing that would actually work, as this whole entire business here. And the whole thing about it trafficking people is it's trafficking the people who are the actual people who are bad in this case. Like, for instance, Roblox for not allowing safety to be their top priority inside of their game and teaming up with Discord, which is like the most dangerous place you can do, which is why Discord was the first one to do the whole entire thing, because they were like, oh wait, hold on, this is bad for us and all the children who are like in trouble and stuff, so we should probably put these in place. Now I will tag this dude in the title of the video, but let's continue. But it's just trafficking the bad guys, the people who rape, sexually, yes, or different people, like children. It's an actual thing in the real life world that shouldn't be happening. Yet people do it anyways.
Horse to force massive identity verification backdoors directly into the Steam client itself. It is the exact same playbook that they also used to push like client-side scanning on smartphones as well, and age verification on social media platforms. Like they created a massive public panic about online safety, and then they're using that panic to like legally mandate that private companies like install permanent tracking like architecture. Like they also looked at the massive like unmonitored digital economy of Steam, and they saw like a massive like blind spot in their surveillance network. The United States government is trying to force Valve to turn the Steam client into a federal tracking terminal of sorts, and they are threatening to completely dismantle Counter-Strike to make it happen.
So they don't get captured.
This brings the absolute masterclass of a victory that Valve just pulled off. Every other tech company on Earth looked at these massive billion-dollar legal threats and instantly folded. I remember Roblox caved and started demanding government IDs to chat. Discord caved and started selling out their user chat logs to third-party safety monitors. But Valve looked at the demands from the UK's Online Safety Act and the United States regulators, and they essentially found the ultimate privacy loophole. The governments demanded that Steam implement strict, verifiable age checking to protect minors, quote unquote. The standard industry response to this demand is to partner with massive third-party data brokers, companies that force you to hold your physical driver's license ID or even your passport up to your webcam, while artificial intelligence scans your biometrical face data and logs it into a permanent, highly vulnerable database. We have seen time and time again that these data brokers get hacked, leaking millions of IDs onto the dark web. But Valve flat out refused to play that game. They told the global regulators that they were not going to subject their massive user base to an invasive third-party biometrical scan. Instead, Valve implemented the most beautifully simple zero data workaround in the history of tech. To verify age in these strictly regulated regions, Valve simply runs a localized $0 authorized check against the user's payment method. There's no AI, no facial scanning, no unloading sensitive government documents to a random server, no sharing your private data with third-party tracking sites. Valve literally stated on the record that they designed their system specifically to protect the maximum degree of the user's privacy. They technically complied with the law, but they did it in a way that completely bypassed the government's true goal of establishing a permanent trackable digital footprint for every single PC gamer. Valve, they found a legal loophole, protected their users from massive data breaches, and also effectively slammed the door in the face of the global surveillance state. This is exactly why PC gaming is the last true bastion of the open internet, you can say. When you have a massive privately owned platform that actually respects its user base, the corporate extortion tactics completely fall apart. The governments of the world are absolutely because you prove that you do not need to build a massive dystopian surveillance apparatus just to run a safe, functional digital platform. Many people in the gaming community are finally waking up to the reality of this regulatory war and what's happening to Steam. We are watching the complete collapse of the narrative that invasive data collection is a necessary evil. Gabe Newell and the team at Valve just drew like a massive line in the sand, and they showed the entire tech industry that you can actually fight back against these unconstitutional digital ID minutes and win. I want to hear from you guys in the comments.
But it is to actually help real people who are in actual real danger, who need to be helped, and if they aren't helped, then the world could go into chaos and cause people to kill children for no reason at all. But that's going to be the end of this video. I need to get to my stream. He's done anyways. So see you guys next time.